So what are we doing now?
The drugs. Drugs?
Yeah, drugs. Let's do drugs.
Yeah. Oh, it's on. Yeah. So, for me, and again, being an existentialist, I believe this is just my belief system, and everyone else's belief system is just as valid. But for me, the main issue with drugs, including ethanol, caffeine, and all these common drugs, is that people have them to feel a relief from suffering or to feel good. And for me, the issue with that is that those feelings are not there specifically like a sort of a, it's not like we're a little kid playing some piano and we just want this sound and that sound. Those sounds are there much more akin to when you are in an aeroplane and you have all those different indicators of the airspeed and your banking and like your altitude and what the pressures are in your hydraulic system and things like that. I see feelings as much more akin to that as opposed to a kid playing on a piano and he just loves, oh, this sound, that sound, and just going like, oh, da, da. So I take those feelings very seriously because I know that they're there just like those indicators on the instrument panel on an aeroplane. They're there to tell me that something is wrong or right. And so if I feel anything but perfect, I then, luckily in my situation, if one does this enough, you get to the point where everything's perfect most of the time, and therefore it will only be one instrument panel or one instrument that will be going off. So it's quite easy to identify what's wrong. Whereas if you let it go for too long and ignore them and just kind of take it as like, I don't like that feeling, and you get rid of the feeling instead of whatever's causing it, then you'll have so many of the instruments going beep, beep, having all the alarms telling you that your airspeed is wrong, you're just about to stall, your hydraulic system doesn't have enough pressure, your oil system doesn't have enough pressure, and your airspeed, this, and your banking and that. And so I think it would get to the point where you would start, I guess, thinking that those feelings are just kind of these random things of like, oh, I feel like this, or oh, I feel like that. And I guess you completely lose track of what it actually is in order to be able to find the etiology of that feeling. But if one goes about it the way I do, then you can kind of have it that as soon as something happens where you're no longer feeling perfect, then you're feeling aha. And you look at, your instrument panel and you go, aha, it's this. Today I have done something that caused me to feel this way. And then you go about either reframing it or figuring out how it's actually beneficial, because almost anything you can kind of, if you think about it hard enough, you'll see actually something beneficial about it. And so that's how I see that with drugs. What they do is it's the equivalent, I think, of kind of taping over those instruments that are indicating that there's something wrong and the alarms are going off, and instead you've put earplugs in so you don't hear the alarms, and you've put sticky tape over those instruments to make it look like there's nothing wrong. Like you've put happy faces over them or something, or love hearts, and you're like, oh, look, who needs to look at an indicator that's telling you just about to stall or crash into a mountain when you can have love hearts on it. So that's how I see drugs, including alcohol, is that you're masking the very thing that's there to allow you to pull up and to deviate your current course that's heading into some suffering, by listening to those very feelings that people use alcohol and drugs to mask, because those are there for for an extremely good reason. They're there to tell you that you're not doing something right and you're doing something wrong, or both. And that's why I sort of see it as this, like, such a so contrary to happiness and avoiding suffering, to mask the very instruments in our lives that tell us that we are heading in the wrong course. Yeah, so that's how I see drugs, is sort of like in that way. Yeah, so that would be the drugs and alcohol.